Welcome back to the news today. North Korea did today may be something that the entire world is worried about, and we are here to discuss this. With me here in the studio is Dani Ayalon, former Israeli Deputy Foreign Minister. Good evening.
Good evening, Lucy.
Thank you very much for coming. And also Dr. Emily Landau, head of the Arms Control and Regional Security Program at the INSS. Good evening.
Hi, good evening.
So Dr. Landau, let's start with you. What we saw today is very worrying. You know, the United States was so occupied in the last few years with the Iran nuclear deal. We saw this year the agreement that everybody was so happy that it was signed. But somebody forgot the, let's say, bad boy that is standing in North Korea doing whatever he wants, and nobody is actually paying any attention to him except the fact that there was some kind of a Hollywood film that made some troubles. It is a big deal. Maybe we can see today that it's even bigger than Iran.
It is a big deal. I mean, this test is the fourth nuclear test that North Korea has carried out. So there's a question now whether it really was a hydrogen bomb or some kind of boosted up regular atomic bomb, but in any case, it's the fourth nuclear test. So we know that Iran is a nuclear weapons state, and with this test, North Korea is trying to remind everyone that it is there, and it does have demands. Most of its demands, by the way, are directed to the United States. It would like to sit down and negotiate nuclear issues with the United States, but nuclear state to nuclear state. You want us to disarm, we want you to disarm and stop threatening us. And so North Korea is trying to put itself sort of on equal standing with the United States. The United States, of course, will have none of that. But the situation is not moving, anywhere near a positive direction. And yes, it's much better to focus on Iran, where you think you have a deal, than on the nuclear weapon state that you have no idea what to do with.
So everybody knows what a nuclear weapon is. What is a hydrogen bomb?
A hydrogen bomb, basically, the atomic explosion is the result of fusion rather than fission. So if you have the regular atomic bombs that are either plutonium-based or high-enriched uranium-based, that's a chain reaction that's fission. The hydrogen bomb is a different reaction, fusion, and the main difference is it's just a much more powerful explosion. But again, if you're talking atomic bombs, they're killing hundreds of thousands of people in any case if they were to be used. And so, we're talking about orders of magnitude that are so great that it's not really...
Yes. Just yesterday we saw Barack Obama shedding a tear about the gun control in the United States. Barack Obama is...
So you're thinking gun control, atomic bombs?
Yeah, and Barack Obama is maybe the master of red lines. Barack Obama always spoke about reducing arms all around the world and weapons all around the world. And we're seeing that Barack Obama is not maybe, let's say, doing the best job in reducing nuclear weapon, in reducing what is happening in North Korea, and even in reducing gun control in his own country.
Well, that's a good comparison, Lucy. The gun control in the United States and nuclear control or nuclear proliferation control. And in fact, I think this is the main problem that we see, that Obama is so much preoccupied with domestic issues that he's actually letting the international arena open to all the thugs, and we saw no red lines in Iran, in Syria, Iran, Crimea, the Middle East, you name it. And I think what we see now is how he has pretty much now becoming the underdog also, the United States, in Asia. And I would like to introduce to this debate also the political aspect of China, because despite denials, both in Pyongyang and Beijing, I cannot believe that it was not done with a blinking an eye or at least...
Although China condemned today...
Of course. But this, for China, it has two major assets. One, it increases its value and influence vis-a-vis the United States, right? Because China is the one who should control North Korea. And secondly, it is pushing back the United States and the trade, the PPT, the Pacific Pact trade that the United States signed with major Pacific powers just a few months ago, which was seen also as a way to curb the Chinese influence and the Chinese expansion. So here again, I think there is lack of leadership, lack of determination, and basically at the end of the day, no deterrence that the U.S. can exert over anyone.
You know, I'm thinking to myself, what are the chances that North Korea today is... we spoke about the fact that North Korea is isolated. Of course, the world will impose some sanctions after this test. What are the chances that this test was being some kind of a signal to the Western world, to the Western powers, to tell them, here, we have the capabilities. We have problems with sanctions. We need a deal like you did with Iran.
Well, I think what we've seen in the past with North Korea is every deal that was made with North Korea was after some kind of crisis that North Korea created. And then it would suffer sanctions for whatever it did, whether a nuclear test or some ballistic missile test. And then after sanctions were put on North Korea, it would come back to negotiations, and then it would be given economic assistance. So there's some kind of disconnect there. Either you're sanctioning or you're giving North Korea economic assistance. It seems that part of the strategy in the nuclear realm, at least for Kim Jong-il, I'm not sure anybody really understands the strategy of his son, who's been in power now for several years. But the strategy then was almost as a bargaining chip in order to, get back to negotiations with the United States or the six-party talks and to get economic assistance. So they've used that strategy. What the son now is doing, Kim Jong-un, what his strategy is vis-a-vis this nuclear test, we'll have to see. It's not clear. What is clear is that the international community has no good idea about how to deal with North Korea. There's no policy out there. There's basically nothing. The U.S. policy right now is not even to recognize North Korea as a nuclear weapons state.
What else is new? Does the international community have any clear idea about the Middle East, about Crimea, about China?
Being specific, does the United States have any clue in the...
Unfortunately not, and Lucy, I see it as another, this hydrogen, if indeed it was a successful one, and I think we'll take a few days to know.
It's not clear it was hydrogen, but we have to wait till they make the test.
And it's not clear whether it was fully successful yet, but I see it as another nail in the coffin of the end of the NPT, the end of the non-proliferation treaty, just like the Iranian deal is. And in a way, we have seen it also historically, that the NPT was never successful in stopping any proliferation. In the case of Saddam Hussein in 1981, Iraq was a signatory, is a signatory of the NPT, yet he had the OSIRAC. Assad is, or Syria is a member of the NPT, and yet they had the Deir Azur, they had a reactor there that nobody knew about. So we know that this is really, there's no confidence in it right now. And adding to that, that there is no really world order or any, today, any policy from the United States. We see Iran, we see, by the way, North Korea. The Iranian deal, the Vienna deal, was pretty much in the wake or designed along the lines of the North Korea deal, the KEDO deal in 1994. Which was defunct as the North Korean, developed the bombs in spite of it. So this is a very, very bad news today, and I'm afraid we're going downhill from there.
But it should be some kind of, I don't want to say a wake-up call, but it drives home the point that once a state crosses that line, the nuclear threshold, there's really not much you can do to reverse course. Before a state gets there, there is stuff to do. And so it should be some kind of wake-up call again for Iran. The Iran nuclear crisis is not over. This deal that was announced in July will not take care of the problem. Iran is continuing to challenge the international community. And if the international community doesn't respond with determination, in 10 to 15 years, we might be sitting here, Lucy, and we're talking about the Iranian nuclear tests that we have nothing to do about.
You're telling me in 10 to 15 years, we will be sitting here. From what I'm hearing, in 10 to 15 years, we might not be sitting here.
Well, that's
let's
the other
hope
option.
the other option.
Let's
Thank
be more
you.
optimistic about that.
Thank you very, very much for this. Thank you.